everyone, my name is Taryn and thank you so much for stopping by my channel, Nicole Flower House. It's much earlier in the day than I normally record my videos, but it's going to be about 90 degrees this afternoon, so I wanted to get the tour in nice and early. The birds are singing and it's only 72 degrees right now. This first bed right here is where my calendula used to be. The heat finally took its toll on those and they were producing but not at their peak, so I took them out. Here on the end is one of those tall marigolds that I keep showing you, and it's finally bloomed. The color on this is so pretty. It's not your standard marigold, and that's why I like this variety so much. This one will bloom soon. I still have a bachelor's button in here that is just kind of sitting, not really doing much, so we'll see if that grows. I had 3 eucalyptus plants that I saved over the winter from last year that I put in this bed. On the end here, I have a Tom Thumb cherry tomato, which was an experiment that I grew over the winter, but it still has some fruit on it, so I decided to take it out of its pot and put it in this bed. And then right here, I have a Winterberry shrub. This one is the male pollinator version, so it stays a lot smaller than the female, very heavy plants that I have. So I think it'll be fine at the end of this bed. I have trimmed back all the dill in this bed. It was very tall and leggy, so I don't have any blooms on it right now. It should start branching and give me another flush at some point. This again on the end is another tall marigold, and here's one of the blooms on this one. It's your much more traditional golden color, but I still love the stem length on this. And we can compare that to a more traditional marigold. This is probably more of what you're used to, and these are pretty short and wouldn't be good in a cut flower arrangement. This bed is full of peppers. I do have some eggplants in the middle, and these peppers are starting to produce fruit. This dill right here is flowering, and I will definitely be cutting these and bringing them inside today. The variety on this dill is called bouquet. You can still eat it, but it produces these really pretty flowers. The Strawberry Hill Rose has started its next flush and has a ton of buds opening up. Here's a bloom right here. I just love the pink on this flower. The stalk at this end of the bed still looks good. I wasn't getting any repeat blooming from the stalk that I'd already cut, so I decided to take all of that out. So now instead this bed has a lot of perennials that I had in pots that I decided to move in here. I have a rosemary, that one's thyme, I have oregano down there, and these 3 in the middle are the chrysanthemums that I saved from last season. So hopefully these will bloom in the fall, and then I'll be able to save these each year. Probably just put some frost cloth over top of them over the winter. And then the end of this bed is still the eucalyptus, and it's really starting to establish and get some good height on it. So I'm excited about that. And then I have some cucumber plants down here on the end. Down here on this trellis where I did have the sweet peas, I planted some butternut squash, and those have come up. So hopefully I will have time to get a harvest out of these and they'll climb this trellis. On the other side of this trellis, I have a volunteer dahlia. I don't know the exact variety, but it has these really pretty white flowers. I love these. Definitely will cut these today and bring them in. The rest of this bed has onions in the middle and stalk on the edge. The stalk in this bed looks to be about finished producing, so those will be coming out soon. This volunteer dahlia hasn't bloomed yet. It's a real pretty bachelor's button on the end. Again, white flowers. The stalk here is a very pretty, delicate apricot color. And right next to it, I have a more traditional color bachelor button. This real nice periwinkle blue. And there's another volunteer dahlia here. It has these beautiful orange coral blooms on it. Cute little buds. Got some more coming on. This rose doesn't have a lot going on right now. It just went through a small bloom cycle. I did prune off all the damaged foliage that had the black spot fungal disease on it. The Dara in this bed is doing really well. Look at the color on this one. It's kind of a chocolate burgundy color. It's very interesting. I really like it. There's plenty more blooms coming up here. And these are very tall. These are probably 4 to 5 feet tall. Let me just take one of these blooms off. Isn't that neat? I want to take one off so I can show you exactly how tall it is. All right, look at this. Now on the other side of this amazing Dara are the snapdragons. Here they are, just going to town. We'll add these to our bouquets this afternoon also. And here's some more baby's breath and the Orlea as well. The celosia and Zinnias and cosmos down here are really starting to establish. A good way you can tell if a Zinnia is ready to harvest is how strong the stem is near the top. This one could use a little bit more time, I think, before we should cut that one. These cosmos. This one's a lot sturdier. This one we can cut today. Here is my miracle comeback rose on the end, and I have pruned back all the calendula and kale that was surrounding this rose so it has plenty of space now. I left the chives and the sage in here, but everything else I took out. This cosmos is doing really well. The bloom size on it has improved. They're much bigger than when it first started. Here is a little tiny one though down here. It's still cute. Here is a different variety of cosmos, a much darker one. And next to that we have some zinnias. And next to the zinnias we have celosia. Now I stopped cutting on these for a while. I really do like the foliage, but now since I've stopped cutting on them, they're starting to get these really cool sprays at the top. This nasturtium was getting hit pretty hard by the heat, so I cut it back quite a bit, and it looks to be doing okay. I did end up planting another butternut squash down here, which has popped up. It doesn't have a lot of light down there, but hopefully it'll climb the trellis and find the sun. And next to that is this gorgeous volunteer dahlia with the huge blooms on it. Still being very productive. Got a bunch more coming on. And the dahlia next to that is a really pretty coral color. And the rest of this bed is that crazy jungle of zinnias and cosmos that I'm just letting be wild because I love the way it looks. And on the end here is the Desdemona rose. It just finished a bloom cycle, so I did prune all the blooms off. This volunteer dahlia on the end hasn't bloomed yet, but it has buds on it, so I'm excited to see what variety this is. I'm not very good at identifying the varieties yet, but I'd like to see what it looks like. Now this bed also has some of those very tall marigolds. Here's one that's ready to cut. You can see how long the stem is on this. And then the dill in this bed is going through a bloom cycle. So I have lots of dill that I can pick. Here's a lot more. I think they look like fireworks. They're so cool. So no flower spikes on my opal basil. Just have to be more patient. But this basil right here is starting to go to flower. It's already has its flower spikes started. And my cucumbers are taking over this trellis. I can't wait for them to start climbing all the way to the top. And this cucumber has one ready. Look at that. That one is ready to harvest. I like to pick them really young and small. And then poking out of that cucumber plant is one of those tall marigolds. Here is my Love in a Puff vine. It's doing quite well in here now that the potatoes are harvested. So I should be able to add this to bouquets soon. And on this end, the sunflower seedlings are still growing. Now here in the Snow Puff Cosmos, I've finally sown some new seeds. These are also Snow Puff Cosmos seeds. I've got another seed popping up there, and a few more right here, and 2 more in the front. So I do have my backup plan finally started if these don't recover. I also planted in the middle of this bed. This is called Berry Heavy. It's a variety of Winterberry, and this one can get very large. So eventually I won't have annuals planted in this bed with that, but until it grows up, it can share. Zinnias over here, I've pruned back. I've tried to remove a lot of the damaged foliage. I did add some Coco Loco to this bed and also some leaf mulch. This is another perennial that I'm waiting to get big, so eventually there won't be zinnias or annuals in here. This is a snowberry, but until it's too big for that, it can share its bed as well. The frosted explosion grass is so pretty in arrangements. I used it for the first time this past week, and it just adds a little bit of light sparkle and volume without being distracting. And so I'll be cutting some of this for my arrangements this week as well. Still no blooms on these flowers, but the foliage is looking nice. This bed of celosia was not doing very well, so I added Coco Loco and leaf mulch to it to see if it'll bounce back. The corner of this bed also has a perennial Winterberry, and until it gets big, it's sharing its bed with zinnias. This last one down here, again, another Winterberry, and until it grows up is sharing its spot with the Gomphrena, which are really taking off. I love the shape of these flowers. We've got some white ones in the back here. Now this variety down here, it's a type of amaranth, and it is getting destroyed by bugs. But I might leave it in there as a distractor plant because the bugs seem to be leaving everything else in this bed alone. So I think I'm just gonna leave those in there to help keep everything else healthier. These are the dahlias that I had potted up inside before they got planted out. They're going to bloom again soon. The rest of the ones down the row are ones that were planted from tubers. Again, they're kind of behind the other ones and definitely behind the volunteer dahlias, but hopefully they'll grow up soon. And no buds on these dahlia tubers yet either. But also remember that I pinched all of these, and when you pinch your dahlias, it does set them behind. If you wanted to not set them behind, you could pinch some of your dahlias and leave other ones to bloom sooner. The sage that I have interplanted with these tomatoes seems to be taking off a little bit more. And the squash and pumpkins are loving this warmer weather that we're having. They were off to a slow start, but I think they still might have time to produce for me. That is all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and the best way you can support my channel is to subscribe and share my videos with your flower and gardening loving friends. Thank you guys. See you next time. Bye.